ramblings as I have to drive to work. I guys heard 104.1 FM WEGAS Talk Radio Williamsport. Me and my good friend Carlos Saldivia, and it's going to be produced, and we're going to be joined by who I consider the best journalist in this state, possibly the country, Todd Bartley, at least when it comes to COVID. So yeah, every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I'll be doing that radio show. So check it out. If you have any input, stories you'd like me to cover, guests that you think we should have, please shoot me an email to get to it. So without further ado, today's topic, nursing homes. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to tell you that I was on this nursing home story before everyone else. But I did talk about this in March, about how I felt that we were being bashed. And if you go check out my video on the Imperial College model, it's 44 minutes, but it's devastating. The Imperial College model was the study that was used to justify the lockdowns in the US and the UK. It predicted 2.2 million Americans would die in a do-nothing scenario. And that number's been bandied about, and the idea of those of us that were critical of the lockdown wanting to, quote, do nothing. I said from the get-go that that was a farce. I didn't know one person that suggested doing nothing. Personally, what I would have done, with my limited knowledge, admittedly, was to keep the economy going and keep those people, default to protecting people's rights and protecting the Bill of Rights and allowing the economy to continue, and then protect the most vulnerable populations. What we've done, I was told that I wanted people to die because of that, and so instead the approach, at least in Pennsylvania and that I've seen across the country, is that they spread out the resources. They locked everyone down, locked the economy down, which resulted in hospitals actually having to furlough workers. And they put their energies into things like filling up skate parks with sand and arresting people for having weddings in their own property and sending police out to make sure that people aren't in public parks or asking them to provide proof that they're couples, and all the other stories that you've heard. If we would have taken all of our resources and directed them to the most vulnerable populations through providing medications, testing, shelter, clean beds in areas where they wouldn't be as close to each other and infected by each other, then we would have seen more success in those most vulnerable populations. That happens to be folks that live in nursing homes and the elderly, particularly those with comorbidities. Now we're starting to see numbers come out, not only in Pennsylvania. Okay, I'm back with you. Sorry about that. But yeah, over 50% are people that have passed away, particularly in the United States, but around the world, are people in long-term facilities. So instead of protecting those people, what we've seen is the same virtue signaling people that said, oh, you care about rights and not people dying. They've allowed these people to die. Really bad idea for anyone who's remotely thinking. If you were interested in saving the most lives, you would be doing whatever you could to keep places where the elderly are as clean as possible, as far away from the virus as possible. You wouldn't say, oh, if you get the virus and you're there, you're locked down there, you have to stay there. That would never happen. So what ended up happening, though, is the Department of Health suggested that. In fact, when people at these nursing home facilities spoke up and said, wait a minute, you're basically telling us, like, what are you saying? We can't take these people to the hospital? They said, no, here's what you do. You ask them if they go unconscious or comatose, if they want resuscitated. That's the side of compassion, the side that told us, oh, your rights are just a piece of paper. You're callous. You care more about the economy than people dying. Those people told people in nursing home facilities, hey, sorry, you got to stay there. You can't go to the hospital. That's what happened. And so this has directly led to over 50% of the deaths, particularly in Pennsylvania, but again, all across the country. Imagine this. Imagine being an elderly person and you find out that you've received COVID, or the person next door to you's received COVID. And you're basically told, well, sorry, we can't take you to a hospital where you would have the best chance because we want to keep our hospitals clean and empty. That way, if there's a big rush of younger people that need treatment, they have a safe place to go. In fact, this was done Medicare in the federal government's response. Medicare is now offering nursing homes 4 times as much money to keep people with COVID in their facilities. So if you're a nursing home and you want to make as much money as possible, what incentive do you have to send these people to the hospital? You lose out big time on the money. And so now we see, now look, Was this done for corrupt reasons? Do they want elderly people to die? I'm not going to say that, but it's another situation where it's facts over, or it's feels over facts. They didn't care about the facts. They didn't look at the situation and see, my God, we're basically giving a death sentence to these elderly people. But that's what was happening because they bought into their own fear. Some people were corrupt at the top and they knew that this was overblown and exaggerated and it was a naked power grab to destroy the middle and working class people of Pennsylvania and the United States. But some people might have just thought, oh, this is the right thing to do. We have to shut down to protect everyone, not realizing that their policies were putting the most vulnerable of us at risk. And as a result, predictably, we saw the deaths skyrocket in that population. And then most disgusting of all, well, maybe not most disgusting, but another disgusting portion of it is, then the very people that are doing that were against the lockdown, that pushed forth these policies that led to the nursing home deaths, they then point to the deaths in the nursing home and say, see, that's why we were justified to take your rights away. This is just like what the government did. They lock down the economy, and then they say, see, this is proof that we need to spend trillions of dollars to get people back on their feet. They create the problem, and then they offer the solution, and they want praise for the solution. So because they forced these people in nursing homes to basically be incubation centers for COVID and wouldn't allow them to go to the hospital like anyone would want you and your family to have the opportunity to go to a hospital, because they discouraged that and their official policy was to go against that, more people died, which then gives them the benefit of saying, see, a bunch of people are dying. That proves we're right to continue to take your rights away. It's absolutely appalling. And the same thing's happening in New York City that's happening in Pennsylvania. Why aren't these people being held accountable? How was this allowed to go as long as it went? The only reason this isn't a massive national story right now is because we don't have a free press. They're propagandists. 95% of our media are just propagandists. They want the lockdown. That's what the globalists want. That's what the Democrat and the establishment want. They always want more power for them, less for you. They always want more massive spending. They always want to take away your rights that could impede their efforts to have a power grab. And so the media just plays along with them. So they're still smearing it of, oh man, if you're against the lockdown, you want people to die. Well, they're advocating policies right now that are wiping out our nursing homes. Then look at Beaver County in Pennsylvania. If you look at a map right now, we have different phases. So we're in phase yellow, what my county's in. And basically that lifted some, but not all restrictions. By the way, if a lockdown was necessary to keep us safe from COVID spreading, how in the hell does it make sense for a partial lockdown to work? Either there's a lockdown or there's not. Code yellow, oh, we'll limit it to gatherings of 25 people. So what, instead of a gathering of 50, we now have 2 gatherings of 25, and that's somehow going to stop the spread of COVID? It makes no sense. But anyways, if you look at Beaver County, they're the only ones in Western Pennsylvania that haven't entered phase yellow. Why? Because one nursing home there had a rash of deaths. So now all the regular people, the shop owners, the regular people of Beaver County that aren't in that vulnerable population, they suffer. Their rights have to be taken away. Their economic viability has to be taken away. Why? Because the Department of Health of Pennsylvania issued policies that incentivized making these people that get COVID in nursing homes be locked down in those nursing homes, which then predictably spread to all the other people in the nursing home. Now, this is what I said from the get-go. Yes, we need to have a discussion about why the biggest harm in this was taking away our rights and collapsing the economy when we didn't know what the impact of the virus would be. But beyond that, a discussion we need to have is, even once they cross that threshold and say, okay, we're going to take away people's rights and lock down the economy, even then their decisions don't make sense. Only essential businesses. The liquor stores could be open, but not churches. The candy stores open, but not the construction places, or the places that manufacture houses that are big in my area that provide a lot of people jobs. None of it made sense. And so what happened is we got all the negatives of the possible solution. We got the economic shutdown. We got the taking away of our rights. We got the tyrannical monsters coming out, whether it be some police officers, some politicians, some mayors, some media people that couldn't wait for their ability or their chance to enforce tyranny on people. We got all that negative crap, and the virus still spread. None of the positives. If you're going to have a lockdown, have a full lockdown. But they didn't. They just went halfway. So we just got the negatives of not having the lockdown and which I was totally against the lockdown, don't get me wrong. And the negatives of, oh, you get all of your rights taken away and the economy collapsed. So look into these nursing home numbers. I encourage you. Remember, the majority of deaths across the world are people, I think the average age of death, 79. The majority of people are in these long-term care facilities. Look, imagine what it would be like to be stuck in there knowing everyone's getting COVID, but you can't get out. They won't send those people that are getting COVID to a hospital. And that's if, I hate to say this, but we know this is true. A lot of people in these end-of-life facilities, they might not be concerned or have the knowledge of exactly what's going on with this virus and things like that, whether it be through, dementia, Alzheimer's, or just mental deterioration, or maybe you're just living out your sunset years and you have other things to worry about and you're not really focusing on that. But either way, they were trapped in these death traps by the people that told us we were immoral. The same people that said, oh, you care more about your 401k than people's lives, which is a joke, then looked at the most vulnerable population and said, shut your mouth. Don't get our pristine hospitals infected. You're going to stay locked up with all the other COVID patients. So, yeah, that's just, that's where we're at today. So I thought it was worth focusing on that. So remember, again, I'm going to have that radio show. I'll be talking more about it. That's going to be every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can check out the video I did on that. Please, 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 if you get some free time, check out that 45-minute video I did on the Imperial College model. The reason it's so important is that was the actual, when they said, trust the experts, that's the model they were talking about. Oh, 2.2 million Americans will die if we don't lock down. And it's total garbage. The model is total garbage. That's why it's important to look at that. But thank you, everyone, as always, for listening. I'm going to head into work now. But, I'll be putting more stuff out soon. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Share with some other people. And have a good one.